Happy Wednesday for those that actually this will count for the other day, whether you're watching now or on YouTube. It'll just be a week from today. I just almost had my own am I the asshole moment, but I know in fact I would have been the asshole because I just almost drop kicked a fucking fluff ball. But I will not get into it right now because I don't want to get all upset just all over again. So we're gonna do something that will be nice and peaceful, hopefully. And that's going to be rolling right into our show tonight. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the intro once I switch over to it. And we're just gonna go ahead and just hope that he behaves for the next hour and we can call it good. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Phoenix Reads. Today we are going to be reading some Whatever Wednesday. That's right, it is our catch-all day, my guys. Now, I don't pre-read any of the stories I'm about to read with you, so these will be a surprise to us all. I will leave any usernames in the description if you want to go leave your own opinion on their post, given it is still up. My username for Reddit is in the description. Feel free to tag me in stories you'd like to hear me read. So, grab your snacks, your drinks, and let's get started. Ugh, I'm so over today. It's just been like hot and sticky, and like we went to the playground today for a little bit and that wasn't so bad, but every time I had to go outside it's just hot and sticky, and I'm over summer. Monday was gorgeous. Monday was a high of like 65 and sunny, and it was absolutely fucking beautiful. I could deal with weather like that like all the time. But I digress. Like I said, I'm not going to focus on anything negative right now. We're just going to jump right into whatever negativity might come our way with these stories instead of real life negativity. That sounds much better. Hi everybody, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are all having a good week so far, and if not, well, look at it this way, the week is almost over. So hopefully the last couple of days of your work week will go by quickly. We are just going to go ahead and jump right into our first story that comes from Best of Redditor Updates. And it says, my girlfriend had a meltdown and fell asleep on my couch. This sounds very interesting. We do have some trigger warnings for anybody that is interested. This originally comes from Off My Chest, but this did, I found it from Best of Redditor Updates. The trigger warnings for this story are mental illness, self-harm, references to suicide, physical violence, alcohol, and drug abuse. So if any of these are not your jam or not something you want to listen to or about, please feel free to skip this one. But we're just going to go ahead and get started. The original was posted on May 9th of 2023, so this year. My girlfriend had a meltdown and fell asleep on my couch. Last night, my 25M girlfriend, 27F, came over to drop off a package that was sent to her house instead of mine. She's been struggling with depression recently, and for the last 2 weeks, she has not been acting herself at all. It seems like she had not slept in days, and her usual high-energy self was not there. I asked her if she was okay numerous times, but she kept pushing me away and gave one-sentence answers about how she is fine and I didn't need to worry. I know she has a history with suicide, but that was when she was a teenager, and she has not thought of taking her life since she was 16. So about 11 years, I feel like that's some good progress. But at the same time, do we know for sure about that? Like maybe she just hasn't told you that she's felt like that recently. Just a thought. When she came over, she was in really bad shape. Her hair was messy and there were bags under her eyes. There were some cuts on her arms that looked like self-harm, and one of them was bleeding. Her voice was groggy and she was extremely quiet. She came into my apartment, put the package on the kitchen counter, said goodbye, and tried to leave immediately. She thanked me for being a good boyfriend, which caught my attention. I felt a sense of doom, so I stepped in front of the door and told her to stay for the night. She told me to move, but I said she was not in good condition to drive and something bad might happen. For one, I do understand where the boyfriend is coming from, like, in the moment, but at the same time, it's having been in this mental state before myself, suddenly feeling like you're not allowed to leave and that you feel trapped can really make your mental health like just go from like maybe at like a 20 to 100. And it kind of kicks in a flight or fight response, and you make really bad choices afterwards. Suddenly, she hit me in the chest and said she wants something bad to happen. She broke down in tears and cried about how stressed out and unappreciated she felt. She talked about how she was the perfect student and went to Berkeley like her parents wanted and became a nurse, but they never showed any support for her career. She gets pushed aside and hates how all the attention goes to her sister and she feels unnoticed. She cried about how stressful work has been and how understaffed her hospital is. She has not slept for 37 hours and tried to go to bed a couple hours earlier but couldn't fall asleep. She hates her body and how much she struggles with maintaining her weight. I picked her up and brought her to the couch, and she continued crying and told me she thought about crashing her car multiple times on the way to my apartment, and I would be better off with her being dead. She finished off by saying she doesn't feel human and how difficult it is to get out of bed, then fell asleep in the middle of crying. That all happened in the span of 10 minutes. Having definitely lost my shit via lack of sleep, I feel this on a very, very personal level. It's really rough having mental health issues and then having stuff go off kilter too much. Like me, I am a very scheduled person. I like knowing what's going to happen and a rough idea of when it's going to happen. So when stuff kind of happens last minute and I'm thrown off of the schedule I have already mentally prepared myself for, I get very like pissy and snippy, and lack of sleep definitely exacerbates those feelings. So I can, not sleeping for almost 2 whole days, I can definitely feel the pressure that she must be under. And like yesterday, my sister-in-law messaged our group chat that has me, my husband, obviously my sister-in-law, and both of my in-laws, mom and dad-in-law, in it, saying that, hey, we're going to, I have made plans for Father's Day, everybody meet here at this time. And I texted my husband going, I don't want to go. And I was even talking to one of my best friends about it earlier, and it's like, I'm just not feeling celebrating Father's Day this year. I've had a lot of things I've come to terms with since last Father's Day, and while I love my father-in-law, and I know he needs to be celebrated, at the same time, I'm just not feeling the mental space or the mental capacity to celebrate one man that has done way more for me than my own father has. And I don't know, I'm just not feeling in a good mental headspace about it. I'm trying not to cry. So I definitely feel where OP's girlfriend is coming from. And I feel for her on so many different levels. It's a very personal feeling. And I think anybody that knows. I laid her down on the couch and put a pillow under her head. I stopped the bleeding on her arm and put some bandages on the wound after I cleaned it. I put a blanket over her and stroked her hair for a while. I started crying watching her sleep. I knew she was going through a rough time, but I did not know how bad it was. What are you doing? Stop. You're being naughty. Lay down and chew on your toys, not the blanket. Butthead. You're fine. Lay down. I got a blanket and pillow and slept in front of the couch in case she woke up. It's 10 a.m. right now and she's still sleeping. She's been asleep for 14 hours and has not moved. I don't know what condition she's going to be in when she wakes up, but I hope she is calm and open to talk about getting help. It's really hard to go through. Bubba, you've already went outside and peed and you pooped earlier. I know you don't have to go again. Come on. course, this is... Why do you gotta make recordings so difficult now? Come on. Edit. Thank you for the replies. She woke up a couple hours ago after sleeping for 16 hours and she explained everything. She was at work 2 days ago and an elderly patient yelled at her and shoved her. She reached her breaking point, and when she got home, she threw out her antidepressants. She gets a refill on Thursday and went into a manic episode. She went to work yesterday without sleep and walked out an hour into her shift and relapsed into self-harming. She decided she was going to drive into a tree but wanted to see me one last time, so she dropped off the package to do so. Thankfully, I saw the signs and stopped her, and she had a breakdown. She asked if she could stay with me for a couple of days, so we drove to her apartment to get some things, and she played music and sang her heart out. She wanted Wingstop, so I stopped to order her something, and she ran to the grocery store nearby while I was in line and got her favorite ice cream. We drove back to my apartment and ate, and she's currently taking a shower. When she gets out and dries off, I'm going to sit down with her and talk about what she wants to do regarding her job. I think she's going to quit, to be honest. I saw a comment asking me to call out for her, but I think she's going to call out entirely. She seems burnt out. I'm also going to bring up an idea of her talking to a therapist again. Thank you for listening to my ramble, LOL. Your support means a lot to me. We do have an update from this, and it comes May 13th, so 4 days later. It says, my girlfriend showed up to my work drunk and high. A couple of days ago, I posted about how my girlfriend was in the middle of a mental crisis and fell asleep on my couch for half the day. She took a mental health leave from her job and found a therapist this morning. Dusty. There. Play with your toy. Who she says will begin to see her next week. She got her medication refills on Thursday and has been trying to relax, but when I came home later that day, she was not there. I texted her and she said she was out with friends and would be back soon. She came back a couple hours later with a big brown bag, but did not tell me what it was. She went into my bedroom to hide it and told me not to open it. I was a little concerned, but decided not to push it. It turns out she was hiding cocaine in the bag. I am a fighter and I work today and the next 2 days, and tonight she showed up at my station drunk and high out of her mind. She knocked on the door and my lieutenant opened it and immediately recognized her drunk voice. She stumbled in asking where I was and started crying when she saw me. My lieutenant told me to take her home, so I guided her to the car and drove her back to my apartment. She started yelling about her job out of nowhere, then fell asleep. When I reached my apartment, I carried her up the stairs and sat her down on the couch. There were wine bottles and a line of cocaine on my kitchen counter. I called the station and said I would be back in an hour, and cleaned up the kitchen and made sure she was not at risk of overdosing. I have never been more mad in my life. I am okay with alcohol in my apartment, but any kind of drugs is unacceptable. My father was a drug addict, so drugs are forbidden from my apartment, and my girlfriend knows this. I am upset about that, but showing up inebriated and high at my job in front of my coworkers is even more unacceptable. I've been trying my hardest to put myself in a position to move up a rank, and now I am the guy who had to drive his drunk girlfriend home. How did she even get to the station in the first place? I hope it was an Uber or something. I love my girlfriend with all my heart, but she needs to find serious professional help. I have been able to weather her manic episodes, but this incident is something I am not going to be able to let go quickly. I know she has mental health problems, and it's something I have to accept to be with her, but she is not taking her health seriously. It is affecting her life, and it's starting to affect my life. She said she was going to admit herself to a psychiatric hospital on Thursday, but it's Saturday morning, and she's still in my apartment, passed out on my couch. I love my girlfriend. I really do. The past 4 years with her have been amazing, but she keeps getting worse, and it's getting harder to help her. I watched my mother ruin her life trying to fix my father, and I don't want to end up on the same path as her. At some point, I have to draw a line. Update. She took herself to the hospital and admitted herself. She sent me a picture of the sign-in sheet and apologized for her behavior. I don't feel anything at this point. I get a break from her for a while, so that's nice. I might break up with her. Update. Sorry. We do have an update. It's from May 27th. So, same year, but a few weeks later. My girlfriend broke up with me through a letter, and I miss her. My girlfriend was released from the psych ward yesterday and decided to break up with me for a while. She suffered a massive mental health crisis a couple weeks ago and ended up taking a mental health leave from her job. She showed up at my work drunk and high on cocaine, and I had to take her home. She admitted herself to the hospital the next day and stayed for 2 weeks before she was released. With how crazy I don't want to use the word crazy. Crazy is such a terrible word, but how manic she has been, or she had been over the last couple of weeks, I honestly would have been worried that 2 weeks was not enough, if I'm being completely honest. Last night, she knocked on my door before running back to her car. She left a box with all my things from her apartment and a letter attached to the box. In the letter, she said she needs to take a break from our relationship so she can take care of her mental health. She is in an extremely unstable condition and is receiving treatment for depression and suicidal ideation. She does not feel safe being around anyone at the moment. And does not trust herself to make logical decisions around people. She is taking her medication and no longer feels like the world is ending, but she is going back to the hospital to receive assistance with her depression. She is also going to start eating full meals again and try to put on weight, which, good for her. Honestly, I'm really proud of how this story so far has taken a turn, because there are so many people out there that have mental health issues that rely fully on finding a partner and having a partner for their happiness. And to be strong enough to take yourself out of that situation, to fully focus on you, I think is one of the more braver things that anybody in that kind of situation can do. And I really, really, really give her full props for that. And I feel like stuff like that isn't talked about enough. It's like, well, she left you, like, that's crazy. And it's like, no, she's doing it for herself. So that way, later on, if we decide to come back together, we're both coming back stronger together. And she knows what can help her to relay that to him. So that way, if something ever like that ever happens again, he knows how best to step in for her. The next 3 pages of the letter were filled with her expressions, with her expressing her love for me and apologizing for her behavior, because she knows I do not want drugs anywhere near my apartment. She asked one of her coworkers about a person they know who sells cocaine, and she bought a gram. She bought it in a brown bag along with some weed and hoped I would look at it and break up with her. When I didn't, she decided to sniff the cocaine and put a line on the kitchen table. She bought 10 bottles of wine and drank 2 of them and scattered the bottles around the apartment before taking an Uber to my job. Because I was the only thing that was stopping her from jumping off a bridge, she hoped that I would get mad when I saw her walking into the fire station, wasted, and the state of my apartment when I brought her back to break up with her. Despite my anger, I did not break up with her. And she ultimately decided to check herself into the hospital. She dedicated 1 page to apologizing for her actions that morning and all the things she did before because of her mental health. She doesn't deserve a patient boyfriend like me who has the biggest heart in the world, and she is afraid of corrupting me. She told me to find a woman who does not have the same problems as her and treat that woman with the same respect I gave her. The last page was her telling me how grateful she was. I'm trying not to cry, I'm sorry. She was to have me as her boyfriend, and she could never repay me for the 5 years of love I gave her. She does not know when she is going to feel ready to be in my presence again, and told me not to come to her house to talk to me. I think it means to talk to her. She also drew a portrait of me while she was in the hospital and attached it to the letter. I started crying in a way I haven't since I was a kid. I knew what I was getting into when I met her, and I never held her mental health against her. She always told me what emotions she was feeling, and it helped our relationship greatly. This is a very serious situation, and I am glad she recognized she needs professional support instead of trying to deal with it all by herself. She's had episodes before, but nothing like this. I miss her. I miss her so much. My apartment has been quiet for the past 2 weeks without her being loud and creating noise, and I hate it. I miss holding her and rubbing her back while she fell asleep. I miss the streaks of blonde hair in her black hair, her big black beautiful eyes, and how she always smelled like lavender. I miss cooking for her and making dinner so she had something to eat after a shift. I miss the smells of whatever recipe she was attempting to replicate from Pinterest. I miss the video of Daniel Craig saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend," she would send me every Friday after 5 p.m. I miss her chicken katsu and spam musubi and her cooking. She made 2 containers of katsu and curry and put them in my refrigerator before she started her cocaine plan, and every bite I took made me miss her more. Sorry, this part just popped in my head. This is like a few weeks later. Would that food still be any good? Just, sorry, I got sidetracked by that, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, do you mean like while she was in for treatment that it made you miss her? Or are you talking about like you're still eating it because that's like 2 weeks later since the whole cocaine thing episode started? So that's why I'm a little confused. I miss exercising and doing ab workouts with her. I miss trying new hiking trails with her. I miss watching whatever dumb reality TV show she was obsessed with every 2 months and her asking a million questions every time she watched a sporting event with me. She was the love of my life, and my life feels incomplete without her. I told my mom and younger sister we were taking a break, and both of them said she feels like a member of our family. I miss her. The last 4 years have been the happiest times of my life, and now all I feel is numbness and sadness. Whenever we had disagreements, they never lasted more than 2 days, and we apologized if one of us said something mean. She was the place I called home and the only person I feel safe confiding in, and now she's gone for I don't know how long. I want to be right by her side. No, you're not messing with the kitty. Leave her alone. No. Here. Chew on your dragon. He always wants to play with the cats, and they want nothing to do with him right now. I want to be right by her side, giving her a hug and telling her how strong and beautiful she is, but I can't. I know she's serious about improving her mental health, and she's making an effort to get her, so that makes me feel a sense of peace. I hope she is able to find a sense of calmness in her mind. I collected her things and dropped them off at her house this afternoon, then just got on the highway and just kept driving for an hour. No music or anything, just the sound of cars and my thoughts. She deserves to be happy and feel like she wants to live. It hurts to live without her. Edit. She has never done drugs before. This was the first time she ever bought or did drugs. And that's really scary. And honestly, I wish them both the absolute best. I hope that something positive came of all of this. Hey, you be quiet. He's such a butt. This one is really long. I don't want to do like so many long ones. I might switch to our petty revenge, because that one we just did was really long, and I would hate to do another one that's like super long and then we not have any time for petty revenge. So I think we're gonna switch over to petty revenge really early, because at the same time hey, you leave my cords alone. Come on, little butthead. What did you do with your dragon? What'd you do with it? No, lay down. He's such a butthead. But yeah, we need some positivity. I feel like our Wednesdays have gotten a little bit too sad lately. So we're going to switch over to petty revenge slightly early this episode, but that's okay. My neighbor built a shed right on my property line. My wife got a new refrigerator. Was the fridge in the shed and that part was on your... I'm confused how this is going to work out. I'm not sure how one thing is going to lead to another, so I'm very, very intrigued. TLDR at the end. The neighbor's backyard behind me butts up against my backyard. I have a 6-foot fence and we both have trees on either side of us, so even in the winter, there's a decent amount of screening between us. Imagine my surprise one day when my youngest daughter come in and said, "I suppose you know that the neighbors built a shed right up against the back fence, right?" I rushed out to the back deck, and sure enough, there was a 10 by 15 ugly ass shed literally a foot off of my fence. I called him up and said, hey, what's with the new shed? And he said he would come over and talk to me about it. Once he came over, I said, man, that thing's right on my property line, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 10 feet back. I asked him if he could move it back so it wasn't so much in our face when we were sitting on our deck. He claimed because of the slope of his yard, the drainage ditch, the slope of his yard and a drainage ditch, that was the only place that it could be. I was also worried that if we ever sold our house and it was surveyed, then it might become a big hassle, which I can completely understand for that too. So my neighbor offered to buy a piece of my property to make it right, but only wanted to pay us $900. That's when my wife rolled on up from out of the house. Sorry, the words were wording, but my brain wasn't braining, if that makes any sense. She'd known the neighbor for a long time and thought he was an asshole already to begin with. Maybe he is. She immediately went for the throat. She told him that she needed a new refrigerator and the model she wanted costed $2,200, so that was the price for the land. Or she could just call zone enforcement to make him move it or start getting fined. Plus, she told him that he was paying for the surveying and filling the property line adjustment. So that's the story of how my neighbor bought my wife a brand new factory refrigerator. Oh, fancy. I was like, a factory one? Holy shit, that's gotta be fancy as fuck. Instead, it's just a fancy refrigerator. TLDR. The neighbor built his shed that was supposed to be 10 feet from our property line, right up against our fence, and my wife made him buy her a $2,200 refrigerator in exchange for a property line adjustment. Honestly, I feel like at the end of the day, that's actually a pretty damn good deal, given I have never had to adjust a property line before, so I have absolutely no idea how much that costs. But I feel like that might be a pretty damn good deal. I mean, compared to all the fines that you would end up having to pay and then having to tear down the shed and move it and rebuild it and all that other stuff. So, update. Thank you for the 1,800, post upvotes. Now over 4,000. And many comment upvotes. Thank you to all the trolls talking smack. At least I got your attention, right? People seem... Hey! No. We've been using the squirt bottle. Leave her alone. Come on. You leave the kitty alone. Get up here and lay down. Or lay down on the floor. Stop being a butthead. Thank you to all the trolls talking smack. At least I got your attention, right? People seem to be convinced that I sold the 96-foot... Okay, so it says 96 feet squared. So I'm wondering if it means 96 squared feet. For much less than the market value. There's a 0.47 acre building lot for sale around the corner from me. It's on a really steep slope in the back like mine and has the same usable area as my 0.275 acre lot. Based on the sale price of that square footage, I sold the neighbor, the square footage I sold the neighbor would be about $528. I sold it to him for $2,200. So, stop, you're fine. I got him in the butt and made him spin around in a circle. I didn't mean to, but I just... Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Dusty, come on. Come on. Or lay down, something. Here, take your bottle. That one's gonna be loud and annoying. I apologize. You're gonna knock my shit over, my dude. Mother's friend likes making snarky comments about what I eat. She doesn't realize I have a 600-watt sub over the guest room. I have no idea what those last words are. I know what guest room is, and there's a little smiling devil emoji, so I'm assuming it's something sexual. Is this an OnlyFans thing? Because that's the only thing that comes to mind right now. This lady comes over, gets drunk as fuck, and crashes on our spare bed at least 3 times a week. Every time I go get a snack or something, she likes to make little comments about what I choose, such as real breakfast of champions, huh? Or how are you living off of that? I've tried the rebuttal of how are you living off boxed wine, and that definitely helped. She's continued, and I've had enough. So starting today, currently 12:30 p.m., she's still asleep, I will be maxing my subwoofers and amp out until she leaves or addresses it. Considering she doesn't live here, I'm going to tell her to fuck off if she tells me to turn it down. Let me eat what I like, bitch. I don't need you making me more self-conscious. It was saltines and peanut butter, not even serious junk food. Okay, so that did not go where I thought it was. It did end up making sense. I will, however, say we really need to start telling people that don't mind their own business to fuck off. We really need to start doing it more than we already are. And I'm including myself in that conversation because I am definitely one of those people that don't do that. And I definitely need to do it more. Dusty Buns, I swear to Christ. Get a puppy, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Go the frick back to sleep. God, he's such a butthole. You. I flipped him off under the table. I've been doing that, and he just kind of stares at me like, I don't understand what that means, Mom. Come on. No, you don't need to go outside. You're fine. Come on. Get up here and lay down. Where's your dragon at? He lost it. Of course he did. Come on. Come on. Get up here. Get your squirrel. I think it's a squirrel. We got it at the Dollar Tree. He really loves those toys. It's also got a squeaker in it, so I apologize. Lowball me and I'll take the food out of your mouth. This occurred a little over a year ago, but figured it was worth sharing. Last year, I received an invitation to interview with one of our direct competitors for the same position I'm working. There's a reputation of me being called the Barracuda in my field of work, so my name's known to my competitors, yet I hold a blue-collar job title, not one in management or sales. Sidebar, if you have Netflix, or have access to Netflix, there is a Adam Sandler type movie, has David Spade in it, called The Wrong Missy. Heads up, it is a very sexual movie, but absolutely hilarious and very touching. Also, the tribal chief Roman Reigns is at the very beginning, so if you do not need any other reason besides that to watch the movie, stay for the rest of it because it is still absolutely hilarious. And I didn't like part of it because I was like, oh my gosh, this movie's so cringy, blah, 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 blah. Or at least one of the characters is like super cringy. But honestly, it gets better and it's such an it ends up being such a great like rom-com movie. So if you really like Adam Sandler type movies, go for it. It is a great movie. Anyways, for me, if an opportunity presents itself, I would at least entertain their offerings because you never know what might happen, but the intentions are ultimately for a better paying position. So I go to the first interview and it's with the service manager. He's impressed with what I have to offer and asks for a second interview with his head of sales manager. Then another interview with the higher management levels and another with a VP and yet another with everyone I've already interviewed with and the CEO, all in all, 7 interviews in total. That's fucking wild. That is so wild. I have never heard of somebody having to have 7 interviews for a promotion. That's crazy to me. Or just even for a new job. So to me, that's like a crazy fucking thing to do. Like, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. Now, here's the thing. This isn't my first rodeo, and I know how to evade their bait questions where the only proper answer would be to spill the beans on revenue numbers or customer naming with my current employer. And I dodged all of those questions with vague answers that leaves them with nothing of value, but stays relative to their questions, and I can feel their frustration that they're not getting what they're after. After the 7th interview, I made it clear that I'm no longer willing to entertain furthermore interviews, and we talked numbers and where I'd like to see to entertain the possibility of joining their team, and if they're still interested, to shoot me an offer, or if not, then a letter that they're not interested in hiring me. I think that that's really good. I am really terrible when it comes to job type stuff of being not a pushover. So I would love to learn how to be more like straight to the point and not one over explain to the point that it gives too much away, but not like come off like I'm a bitch, even though I am for the most part. I don't know. I get very mixed reviews. Either I'm a complete bitch or I'm like one of the sweetest people you've ever met and people love me. And I think the problem is that I just don't tolerate bullshit when it comes to my friends. And for people that are not my friends, it scares the living daylights out of them. Apparently. So I've been told. I think it's because I'm short. So it's not like expected. I just jump up on you. I'm not going to do that again. Let's add that in one of the interviews, the VP spilled the beans on his number one cash cow. That sounds stupid. Oh, number one cash cow customer that so happens to be directly across the street from their office in plain view. And based on what I gathered from all of the interviews in this company, interviewing me is still a small player in the game. And without this cash cow customer, they wouldn't be much of a competitor to us. Fast forward 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, and I get an offer. The offer is being offered by the VP, although it's clearly written that if I accept, I will report to the manager I initially interviewed with, and that I'd retain the same job title, except their dollar amount is 20% less than what I was making, 35% lower than the number I said I'd be willing to entertain. I took that as an insult and immediately declined their offer, and when they asked what would my counter offer, I politely declined any further communications with them, and boy, was I pissed when I saw the number that they offered me, especially when I told them where I'd like to be at pay range to entertain them as my new employer. I can completely understand that because, like, what's the point of a job being like, okay, well, where do you want to be for, like, I understand that there has to be, like, some bartering in high quality jobs like that, but, like, 20%? That's, depending on, like, pay ranges, that can be a lot. Like, I know so many people that would be absolutely thrilled to get a 20% raise. And I know that a lot of people that would be absolutely heartbreaking to lose 20% of their pay. Because honestly, that is quite a bit of money. A few weeks passed by, hoping I'd forget the insult of an offer, but I just couldn't get over it. So I enlisted the help of one of the newly hired sales rep in our company that I got along with really well and asked him to accompany me in visiting a site I had my eyes on. After we got approval from upper management from both of our departments, we set an appointment/meeting with the cash cow customer of the company that I interviewed with a month prior. I knew that was going to come in. I knew that was going to come into play. During the meeting, while the young sales rep is talking numbers to them, I decided to run my mouth and offered them the option that instead of entertaining a 1 or 2 year contract to be their new service contractor, we'd be willing to pay the cancellation fee of early termination of their current contractor if they're willing to sign with us for 4 years, maintaining a 7.5 annual increase adjustment for inflation and based on market evaluation. I was talking out of my ass as I haven't done any research and haven't got the authority to back up those figures. I also gave them the guarantee that we would be on site within 24 hours of emergency breakdowns if they agreed to the terms of the 4-year contract. We left the meeting and the young sales rep is super excited that if he closes this deal, he'll go from amateur to baller status overnight. But super nervous that he never asked for permission to the guarantees. I promised, and this could be the end of our employment should they agree. I told him not to speak of the terms. 3 months go by with no word from them. The sales rep kept in touch with them through during the time that then one day I get an email that it's also CCs to the sales rep, also that they'd like to move forward with our proposal. Okay, now the only way I could see this like blowing up in their faces is if like he didn't tell like any of his bosses, no bites. Or that he didn't tell any of his management what conditions he gave them. Like, that's the only way that I could see that blowing up and not getting, like, somewhat of a deal. You know? Because, I mean, 3 months, that would be plenty of time to tell them and work on it if they chose to accept. A week later, I got a write-up for failing to follow the chain of command BS and 2 days of unpaid leave, but our VP of sales signed the contract approving the condition I outlined, and assigned me as the lead contractor rep responsible for being the one who responds to the 24-hour breakdown guarantee if no one else is available. This in turn took me off of the out-of-town travel list, which is a blessing for me. Fast forward 6 to 7 months later, this customer has proven to be our company's second highest profitable acquisition post-COVID, and the cost of paying the contract cancellation fee was overcome within the 4th week of service. I received a 25% pay raise and a management position, which I declined the position but accepted the raise while retaining my current title. Also, I just found out during our annual company meeting that me, young sales rep, and our families are going to Hawaii for a 2-week vacation, all expenses paid, in December. That would be a great time to go to Hawaii. Well, I mean, depending on where you live. His ass is literally on my arm. Butthead. Anywho, I now intentionally mandate that whenever we're at this customer site, we park all of our service vehicles directly across the street from the former contractor's HQ in direct sight of their view, even if our work area is on the opposite side of the plant, which I swear must have its own zip code. Does this count as petty revenge? Yes, that definitely counts as petty revenge, and I kind of loved it. Okay, sorry. I was just making sure that this one sounded kind of familiar from one that we kind of read like last week or something like that. And so I was like, I'm trying to write a 5. Oh, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. He's shaking me around so much it's hard to write my numbers. All right, we're going to move on to number 5. Took the garbage can. That's why I was wondering if I had accidentally read this one before. I, F23, had 3 other female roommates last year. All females. I deep cleaned the whole house. No help. Living room and kitchen, the only hey, you're ripping it. Careful for your tea first, please. The only thing I asked was someone to take out the trash. Texted them, left me on red. When I came in the house, they ran to their rooms. When I ran into them outside in the parking lot, they made excuses to get on the phone or act like they didn't see me. I finally asked one roommate in specific, please take out the trash via text. She responded, that's not my responsibility. Get one of the other girls to do it. I was fed up. I really hope this involves her putting like trash in their rooms. Because I'm not gonna lie, we've kind of done that to a roommate before. So I did it. I took the garbage out to the dumpster, and the garbage can went with it. Oh. 4 days later, roommate 1, where's the garbage can? Me, leaves on red while keeping a brand new personal garbage can in my room. Roommate 2, hey, can someone put the garbage can back out? Me, ignores. If I can't have a garbage can, no one can. Pun intended. Update. First off, wow. I don't think I've ever gotten this much engagement on a Reddit post, so thank you to everyone who commented or said something. Second, for those who said I should have dumped the trash on their beds, honestly, I should have, haha, but I don't think I reached that level of pettiness, but they definitely needed to take responsibility. Lastly, what happened after in detail. A small detail I should have mentioned prior to is that this is a student living apartment complex, so they're college students. I'm an out-of-state resident, and to just give you a time frame, I cleaned the entire house 2 weeks prior to them taking the trash out. I can't cook in a dirty kitchen, so I had to clean the kitchen, but further than that, I stayed mostly in my room. So I didn't care about the living area. So yes, they let the garbage just sit for 2 weeks. It was disgusting and leaking, and I tried to hold out, but with the smell, I couldn't take it. Honestly, same. Like, it's so hard to be cooking something and be like, oh man, this smells good. And then you take a big whiff of it and then you get that back end of garbage. For some people that really can, like, what they smell and how they taste stuff are very closely linked. Like, I am kind of that person. My husband will get like energy drinks or stuff like that, like the Rock's drinks. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, that's the guy I'm talking about. He will get his like protein drinks stuff, the stuff you can get them at Walmart now. But when he first started getting them, he was like, oh, these are really good, you should try it. The problem is I can smell the protein in said drinks. And since I can smell the protein, I can taste the protein. And it just doesn't go well for me. And I don't like them. I'm sorry, Rock. If you ever listen to this, I'm sorry. I don't like your protein drinks. They're too proteiny for me. That sounds wrong. Let's continue. After that, they definitely tried to find out. Hey, give me that. I'm trying to keep them up here and interested, so you'll have lots of going on in the background. I apologize. Yeah, you pain in the butt. After that, they definitely tried to find out what happened to the trash can, but I was over it. One even tried to set up a chore chart, something I tried to set up months prior too. It's just ridiculous to see how a dirty house full of females can be, but I made my point and I proved it. I've been at this apartment for almost 2.5 years now. Fingers crossed this is my last year and I'll have my own house this time next year. So yay to no more roomies. So anyway, like I was saying, we lived in a house, out in Colfax, which, if you're not from Iowa, it's a super small town on your way to Newton. And honestly, it's a really nice town. Like, it was really sweet. It was a really, awesome neighbors, awesome neighborhood. Honestly, I wish we had never moved. We had a roommate of ours who both my husband and I went to high school with. I've known the guy since, kindergarten. And then my husband, when he was stationed in North Carolina for the Marine Corps, he was one of his buddies. Well, we let him move in with us, and he would leave trash. Just, he wouldn't take it to the garbage can, he would just leave it wherever he was sitting. Empty bottles, empty wrappers, whatever it was. Plates. So if it was something that could be thrown away, my husband would start to just collect them and just go put them on his bed in his room. Because he's like, I don't give a fuck if his room's trashy. As long as, I just don't have to see it. I was like, as long as I don't end up having to clean up, as long as we don't get bugs, that's all I gave a fuck about. But yeah, that was his pettiness. He never heard anything about it, so we have no idea if he realized what my husband had been doing. But, I mean, Jake, if you're ever listening, you deserved it. I left my ex in a screwed up position when I left him. Depending on how things end and what kind of person your ex is, he probably fucking deserved it. My ex was the definition of a piece of shit husband. There we go. He was abusive, couldn't hold down a job, and was a cheater. The kick in the butt to leave him was catching him with a girl in our apartment. Hey. Oh, goodness. It took me longer to leave than I wished, but living states away with practically no friends of my own, I had to wait for the perfect opportunity to get out. When that day finally came, I told him I was leaving. Told him that the next month's rent was paid and he was on his own for the following month, and then the lease was up and he needed to find somewhere else to live. Some say this was too nice, but my name was on that lease and I didn't want an eviction on my record. That is completely understandable. Hey, you need to chill out. You's getting too crazy. What I also left with him was no money. I had switched my paychecks over to an account in only my name 6 months prior because he couldn't be trusted with our joint account and was spending money on unnecessary things, leaving us short on bills multiple times. He also had no job. He lost his last one. I think that was number 4 in the 3 years we were together. And on top of it, he didn't have the ability to get a new job because of his permanent resident card had just expired. I have no idea what a permanent resident card is. So if you would like to enlighten me, please do. I love learning new things. We had been saving money to get it renewed as I was planning ahead, but once he lost his last job, we needed to use that money for bills, so it was gone. Is a permanent resident card kind of like a green card? Was it like a 90-day fiance type thing? That's what he's one psycho. That's what I'm wondering. Oh god, he's got the zoomies. No, please. He's trying to run up here now, and I'm worried he's gonna grab the cord and just, wah! throw everything to the ground. See, I threw it on the ground. Hey, no. Sit. Good down. Good down. That's what I'm starting to wonder if it is. I've just never heard it called a permanent resident card. But again, this may not be in the US either. So ow, no, naughty. And that gave him the zoomies. I swear to God, if he knocks shit over, I'm gonna lose my mind. I don't know what to say about this. I'm just gonna hold on to this and hope to God he doesn't knock shit over. I apologize for all the noise in the background. You just got up without using the stool. Look at you growing and getting big. Okay. And I think that was number 4 in the 3 years we were together. Oh, sorry. Permanent resident card. We had been saving money to get it renewed as I was planning ahead, but once he lost his last job, we needed to use that money for bills, so it was gone. To sum it up, 1, no money. All the money I took was from the job, so it was mine. 2, no job. 3, no ability to get a job. And 4, no car. Hey, you're fine. Chill. Car was in my name and I was making the payments. As you should. Oh God. As far as the stuff I took from the apartment, I only took my things and left most things we had gotten together, including furniture that was his mom's anyway. Some people said I left him in a pretty fucked up position, but my whole marriage was a fucked up position, so I feel it was well deserved. Edit to add. Let's add some more because I didn't think this post would get so popular. I almost forgot that I did this, and this is petty for sure. So since we're still technically married at the end of the year and lived together enough that of that year we could still file jointly on taxes, well, I did the math and I filed separately and I'd get screwed, and if I did it jointly, I'd actually come out like $600 ahead, and that was splitting it 50-50 with him. Seemed worth it. I asked him if he wanted to do it, and I'd take care of the filing and get him his half of state and federal. I did it all, and federal comes in and I send him his half. Stop. Sorry, I lost my spot. Then state check comes in. Our state only issues paper checks for tax returns. Now I don't really need the money. I'm good. And motherfuckers still don't have a car, meaning I'd need to drive to him because both of us have to sign the damn check. So not wanting to deal with him, I hold the check hostage, telling him, nope, haven't gotten it yet, every time he asks. He's getting very desperate, and I'm really not caring. So then, telling him a few weeks later, I got it. He expected me to drive another hour on top of my already really long commute I had at the time to meet up with him because he didn't have a vehicle. I'm pretty sure I told him, and how's that my problem? And told him, no, we can meet at my bank at this location. I'm not driving any further, so figure it out. Again, I wasn't in desperate need of the money, so I didn't care if he couldn't make it. About a month after I had actually gotten the check, we finally cashed the dang check. And I gave him less because they took part of it for his ticket fine. He was like, that's not half. No, it's not. It's your half minus your fine. I'm not covering for that. Now that I think about it, that part seems way more petty. I think that that's absolutely hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. Because, like, okay, I have not really told a whole lot of people this story, I think. I don't think I've ever told it on here. But when I left my last ex that I had before getting back with my husband, I had a car. And I, bought this car on my own. I paid for it. I was like, I think I had like 6 to 7 months left on it. And my ex's car, let me put it this way. He apparently did not realize that when the oil light comes on in your car, you should put oil in your car. So he blew the rods through the block, and yeah. And because he did not have anybody to co-sign with him for a car, and I did, I was like, listen, you pay on my car, for the next like 6 months. I'd been paying for the last 2 years, well, almost 2 years. And lay down, you're fine. No, lay down. I was like, do that, and then, you know, it'll be fine. You'll have a car to drive for work, that he had finally gotten a job. Because for most of we were together almost 4 years. And for most of the relationship, I was the only one that held a full-time job the entire time. He was either unemployed or had a, like, shitty part-time job, like GameStop part-time. Hey, you need to chill. Yes, you need to chill. So yeah. When we broke up, he just assumed I would just give him the car and he wouldn't have to pay me anything. Because he was still paying the last, like, 3 months of it that we weren't together. I had keys, and when it was paid off, I'm the one that got the title because it was in my fucking name. So I told him, I was like, if you want the car, that's fine, but you have to pay me. I'm like, I bought that car for $5,000, and this was back in, like, 2010 when I bought the car, 2011. So, you know, and it was a 5-year-old car. I got a pretty damn good deal for it. And he threw a whole ass fit. His mother came into my job that I worked at the time to yell at me in front of customers, or in front of guests, because I worked at the hotel, to yell at me because I was making him pay for a car and wasn't letting him get away with having a car for only, I think my car payments were like $200, just over $200, or just under $200. I think they were like $198 every month. So, heaven forbid I didn't let him get a car that I originally paid almost $6,000 for only, like, I don't know, $600. Yeah. She threw a fit about it. And I was just like, if he wants the car, that's fine, but he needs to pay me something for it. More, because him just paying $600 when the fact that I have paid for almost $6,000 of this car, that's not an okay deal. And the fact that he was a terrible driver. I drove most of our relationship because his driving terrified me. Like, oh, there it is. Literally, at one point, I have told this story before, but I will tell it again and again because it is, it is absolutely hilarious. Now, it was not in the moment. We were leaving his house, and we get, like, hella praying mantises during certain times of the year. This was during that time of year. And I'm sitting in the passenger seat. He's driving, and he looks over, and on the sun visor that comes down, there's a praying mantis above my head. This child, I'm not calling him a boy or a man because this is not boy or man behavior. This child tries to bail on me out of the car while he's driving. The car was in drive and in motion and going towards a busy intersection. He almost killed me. He tried to dodge out of that car and leave me to die. Yup. And I stayed with him for another 2 years. I'm stupid. But that is also going to be our last story of the episode, because I do not have time for another one. Whew, I was expecting to get one more in, but I kind of couldn't help but relate to that last one, so that's okay too. I was hoping you would sleep for the whole episode, but once again, I was wrong. It's like I start recording and he just goes, oh, Mom's recording something? Time to make an ass of myself. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and do our outro here. Thanks to everyone for listening today. I hope you all enjoyed the podcast. If you know somebody who likes my content, feel free to send me their way in a share. If you would like to send me a message with your own story, rant, question, unpopular opinion, or if you want me to tell others how you fucked up today or any day, send me a message via any of my social media found in the description below. Just look for my cute little avatar you see on whatever app you're listening on. My upload schedule is every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon Central Time. Please give a rating if you enjoyed what you heard today. I hear that they help out tremendously. And as always, I will catch y'all next time. Bye! now that I finally have stuff, like, I don't know, in order or memorized. I can't talk and text at the same time. I'm done. But, as usual, I am so glad you guys hung out with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a little chaotic compared to the last couple of nights. I almost wonder if I need to start just recording on the weekend nights when my husband is home, so that way somebody can go hang out in the bedroom with their daddy instead of being a psychopath out here. But I thank you guys all for hanging out with me and the Dusty Buns tonight, or today, whenever you are watching this, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.